The controversy over the White House's birth control plan not going away in spite of a compromise that was offered late last week by the White House. The original plan required religious employers, such as universities and charities, to cover contraception in the employee health plans. Now, the compromise upholds that requirement, but shifts the responsibility for actually paying for it away from the employer and onto the health insurance provider. President Obama said this about the change.
As we move to implement this rule, however, we've been mindful that there is another principle at stake here, and that's the principle of religious liberty.
So not everybody's buying it as a compromise. We open it up to our panel. Let's begin with you, because this is what we were talking about, although you were remote last week. So this fight, what the president was trying to do was sort of move the fight off of this sort of religious liberty issue. How come the compromise doesn't seem like so much of a compromise?
Because it does not move it away from the religious liberty issue. And the point remains that under the Obamacare bill, you still are going to have these employers who are religious-based, religious organizations-based, who still have to make this available, and it does not fit with their mission. It is about religious liberty. It's also about the fact that this bill, this legislation, is so flawed. The implementation is so flawed that what we need to do is take it off the books and start over. There was the promise, if you like what you have, you can keep it. That has not been there. They are now up over, what is it, 1,700 waivers have been given to the bill.
Let's stick to contraception, because it is, we could be here for the rest of our lives debating the Health Care Act.
But it's part of that problem. And you're not going to fix it with saying, well, let's compromise this. See what they're doing already, it's so flawed. They've got to tweak this, fix that, you know, it just isn't working.
If you look at it through the lens of contraception, first of all, the capacity of the culture wars to constantly generate new wedge issues is astonishing. Contraception has never been an issue to the extent it is now, and this is part of a pattern of dispute. The House Republicans voted to defund Planned Parenthood. Mitt Romney wants to eliminate all federal funding for any family planning, and now you have this battle over contraception in the health care law. First of all, 28 states already require contraceptive equity, what they call contraception being treated the same way by an employer who provides prescription drugs. There is not a simple answer here, because this is a pretty thin read of a compromise, in essence saying that the insurer has to pay for it because it is a net savings to them to provide contraception rather than paying for pregnancy. It is not going to make the issue go away, but I would just point out that politically there are two sides to this ledger. Certainly there are conservative, socially conservative voters, especially Catholics, who may be unhappy about this. There are a lot of women on the other side of the ledger who will look at the totality of what Republicans are talking about contraception and may think this is quite a bit too far for them.
Goes further than contraception.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second. Ariana, go.
Ron said about, 28 states had already that requirement on the books. Also makes it clear how hypocritical Mitt Romney is being when he suddenly aghast at that. Well, Massachusetts already had that on the books. Where was he when it was on the books? And on top of it, it's not just women, specifically Catholic women. The Guttmacher Institute did a survey that shows that 98% of Catholic women have used contraception. 98%. So if this is such a huge issue for the Catholic Church, they have a big problem with their own faithful.
So isn't there a difference between, let me ask you a question, isn't there a difference between, we've seen a lot of church leadership talking about sort of religious liberty and the contraception issue. Isn't there a risk that the leadership feels this, but the actual people who follow the leadership, I mean, they may be breaking church rules by using contraception, but they consider themselves practicing Catholics.
They appreciate the mission and the point of the church and the standing and the belief of the church. They hold these beliefs. They hold these beliefs. The communicants hold these beliefs to be true. This is a religious liberty issue, and it is further than all the states, Ron.
The Congressman has
you know that.
But the Congressman has a point,
this goes further. Obamacare goes further than the ruling in all the states because it gets into the abortifacients and the sterilization. So those are different issues. And the issue with what is happening with the issue with the Catholic Church, it deals with causing them to violate their faith and their beliefs.
Catholics, when polled, say a large number of Catholics, larger than half number of Catholics, when polled, say I would like to have the church running an institution like a school or a charity or a hospital, they say, I would like the church to pay for contraception, which runs somewhere between $600 and $800.
This is government coming in and forcing the church
What about votes?
There are a lot of, I agree with the Congressman, there are a lot of Catholics, even if they agree on the principle, don't like the idea of the government coming in and telling them. So there is a very fine line here. If you're just talking about the raw politics of it, but as I say, there is another side of the ledger here. If you look at everything that has happened this year, from defunding Planned Parenthood to Mitt Romney talking about all federal funding, to Rick Santorum saying the Supreme Court decision that prevented states from banning contraception was wrongly decided, there is a risk, if you add all of this up, that Republicans are opening an entire new front in the culture war that is not, where the country is not as closely divided as abortion. Most Americans believe contraception should be widely available to people who want to use it, and there is a risk that all of this together creates a very different image.
It's not about
There's a problem with the media, too, because the media very quickly have these headlines. Culture wars now dominate the election.
That was Ron Brownstein. I don't blame myself. That was Ron.
I don't mean you now, like the AP headline, you know, more important than the economy. Not true at all. Over 70% in the latest Gallup poll think the economy is the biggest issue. Only 3% think all the cultural issues together are a big issue for them.
Values still drive votes more than
Okay, we're going to stop there. Oh, I can see how this morning is going to go. Oh, my God. All right, got to take a break. Remember, commercials, what pays the bills here.